All right, hello, and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and I got a new microphone, so if it sounds better, can you let me know? And if it sounds worse, can you also let me know? Or if you think it needs turning up, because I don't really know what I'm doing with all this stuff yet. So anyway, hopefully the mic sounds better. Today, I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin and crypto. As ever, plenty of Bitcoin news, some cool stuff to show you. I'm going to take a look at some charts, and if you're a bear, then you really need to see some downside action from both the stock market and from cryptocurrency pretty pronto. If you don't get some downside momentum and you're a bear, then I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. So if you are bearish right now, if you are hoping for lower lows, then you really need to see them very, very soon, as I'm going to show you in just a moment. Look at this right here, okay? Has crypto bottomed? Nearly 70% of people think it has not. So what does that tell you? Is the majority right? I don't really know. But I like the odds of seeing this. If this was the other way around, I would be feeling a little bit uncomfortable with thinking the bottom was in personally. Rookie XBT here says that he's playing this as if we're in April 2019 until the market proves him wrong. And this is essentially what I've been saying as well. I think this pump is going to grind around and then resolve higher. I don't think we come down. Now, I do think we've got a pullback that we're probably going to see tomorrow, and I'll show you that just in a minute. This kind of illustrates what I expect to happen, at least initially. You see how we get this pump and a grind and a chop, and then we resolve higher? This is kind of what I expect to see. However, this would be a 4-year cycle repeat. This would be another 3 years up, followed by a 12-month bear market, just like how we have seen the prior 3 cycles play out. 3 years up, 1 year down. However, as I regularly say on this channel, I want to caution against this type of thinking, and here is an illustration for this kind of price action I am expecting to see. I think this top comes this year. I think the Bitcoin top comes this year. I don't think it's significantly above the all-time highs, the prior all-time highs. And then I think we enter what is the first true secular bear market for Bitcoin. So what do I mean by that? I mean, not just one of these 1-year bear markets within the context of a macro uptrend. I mean, for the first time ever, we're going to see a 3-year long and drawn out bear market for Bitcoin. So of course, I would much rather see something like this unfold. 1, because we'll get a higher top, and 2, because this will be way easier to trade because we've already seen 3 of these before. Okay, this would be way easier to trade than this will. This is going to wrong foot the vast majority of the market participants. And the reason for that is simple. They are going to be expecting 3 years up and 1 year down to repeat all over again. However, this makes me very skeptical that it will actually occur. I think all the easy money has been made, and this is currently my primary thesis. Now, of course, if this becomes invalidated, we'll know very early on. If we just don't start to get very bullish very quickly, if we start to just sort of chop sideways, if we come down and make a new low, any of that sort of thing, and we can just scratch this one off and say, no chance, okay, this was completely wrong. But until proven wrong, this is my primary thesis for Bitcoin. Given the recent pump in Bitcoin, $4 billion worth of long Bitcoin futures trading positions were bought within the last few hours. There is a CME gap down here at around $19,600 for Bitcoin. So these gaps usually fill. Now, they don't have to. There's nothing to say they have to, and there's about 3 or 4 empty ones on the entire Bitcoin chart. But I would expect the price to fill this gap. And then, something else I've noticed, there is another gap here at around 28K. See that here, right here? So are we going to get a gap fill that then fills the gap above here? That would, of course, put Bitcoin's price at 28 to 29K in no time at all. And I know a lot of people think this is absolutely ridiculous moonboy talk. But just remember, experience in this market tells us that we can fully expect to see massive, massive pumps in Bitcoin that come out of nowhere. Again, massive, massive pumps in Bitcoin that come out of nowhere. They never seemed feasible at the time, just like it did not seem feasible at the time that we were going to drop this much or plunge down here during the FTX blow up. Expect the unexpected. That's all I'm saying. According to the CEO of Coinbase, a quarter of US households have now used Bitcoin and crypto. So this thing is really starting to snowball. We're really starting to see adoption. There are more people ever onboarded, ready for this bull market. Whilst most of those people do not pay attention to the market, whilst most of those people have probably sold the bottom and left, they have accounts, they still have the apps on their phone. All they need to do is see the price start to go up, and they will put money back in those exchange accounts, and they will continue to ape in and follow this trend higher. With the recent pump in Bitcoin, Bitcoin has now surpassed $400 billion in market cap, which means it is currently valued higher than Walmart. I expect this number to increase drastically over the coming months. Again, if you're a bear, I want to caution against this, okay? Double bottom that resolved higher upon a break of the neckline. In 2015, same thing, okay? Double bottom, break above the neckline, and we resolved significantly higher. Exactly the same thing in 2019. And now here we are in 2023. This, of course, if you were watching the channel, was the trigger for my long. The break above here at 17.6 was my trigger for my current long position in Bitcoin. I know an awful lot of the market expects this to just roll over and come back down and trap all, and this turned out to be a bull trap. And I cannot say that that's not what's going to happen. I have no idea. All I can do is follow price. That's all I do as a trader. I follow price. But right now, we have broken out and left behind a massive double bottom pattern. The former leader of the Texas energy grid has said that Bitcoin mining is help to balance the grid and driving more renewables in our system. So I'm going to play this 1-minute clip now.
So for many years, ERCOT had been looking for loads of scale that could really respond in a demand responsive way that could help us balance our grid. Back in 2015, you may remember, we started the process of setting up loads in SCED. It was through, I think, about 2016 or 2017. No one showed up at first. There just wasn't any loads of scale that could really help us in that market. But it's here now, and it's a great thing for helping us to balance the grid, helping us to manage all of our resources. The Bitcoin has the nature of really turning down when prices begin to rise in a way that we can give that power back to other consumers. And at the same time, as we bring more and more renewables into the state, it becomes a driver of more renewables. Because right now, if we bring in all the renewables that are signed up to want to come to our state, there will be a significant depression of pricing during the day. By having Bitcoin there to assist and to stabilize those prices throughout the day, it's going to drive more renewables into our system. And that's good for Texas.
So there you have it. Texas loves Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is indeed bringing value and driving more renewables into Texas. One of the largest US colleges has begun teaching students about Bitcoin. So again, we've seen this in El Salvador. We know for a fact that places in China teach Bitcoin and crypto on their syllabus at schools, and now the US is following suit. So if you think this thing is dead, if you think this thing is going somewhere, I think you better look again. It's not all good news in the crypto world though, because India's central bank governor is calling for an outright ban on cryptocurrency. This would not be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time. We've also seen China do this multiple times. We've also seen Nigeria try this. The common denominator for all of these bans is they are quickly and swiftly reversed because the bans simply do not work. When a government or nation bans Bitcoin, all that happens is the Bitcoin usage increases. That's all we've ever seen. China is responsible for one of the most laughable scenarios. China banned Bitcoin mining. Fast forward just a matter of 2.5 months, and China was responsible for 20% of the global hash rate for the Bitcoin network. Remember, this is under one of the most totalitarian governments, one of the most stringent surveillance states on the planet. They have a highly censored internet, tracking beyond the realm of imagination for most people. And they still could not stop Bitcoin miners. Okay, Bitcoin miners running huge warehouses with many, many machines that require a large amount of power, and they still could not stop that. So good luck banning peer-to-peer transactions. It's simply unreasonable. Nigeria is an excellent example of this also. Nigeria, of course, is famous for having a CBDC for over a year with less than 0.5% adoption. Meanwhile, the adult population has adopted Bitcoin at a rate of over 35% of the adult population. So good luck with your ban, India. I found this and I thought this was very interesting. It's a nice visual. This is what it takes, this pile of cash right here, to buy one US gold coin in 2020 versus how much it took to buy one US gold coin in 1933, just $20.67. This shows the damage that inflation does to fiat currency. This shows the damage that debasing currency via the printing of money from central banks does to fiat currency. Look how many more units of this currency you need to buy the same gold coin. And of course, this is not just true for gold. This is true for pretty much everything. You better exit this system because over this decade, this pile of notes is going to get significantly taller. Said another way, the dollar is going to get significantly weaker. Over in the equity world, there are two things that matter right now. Okay, JPM's earnings call with CEO Jamie Dimon changed his tone from bearish to neutral. At the same time, the VIX structure is down substantially across the board, which is usually a bullish cue for equities. For those of you that hated the 2008 comparison, you won't have to see it from this guy again. For those who enjoyed it, it was fun while it lasted. Again, I've said this before at the beginning of this video, I'll say it again now. If you are a bear, you really need to see this stock market roll over and start to plunge ASAP. You really need to see this happen very, very, very soon. Because if it doesn't, then you can kiss goodbye to the internet's favorite fractal. Admittedly, these two have been tracing quite closely. But the facts are facts, and the conditions of 2008 are absolutely nothing like the conditions in 2022. That does not preclude a move lower. That absolutely does not preclude a move lower. But if this continues to move up, and if we take out this high here, and you're still a bear, I think you are possibly in for a world of pain as we start to move towards what I believe will be a melt-up thesis. This is not yet confirmed. For this to confirm, we need to see a breakout of this purple downward sloping trend line. But if we can get that over the coming days or weeks, I absolutely think it's game on for new highs in the equity markets. The US government interest payments are projected to rise to over $1.2 trillion per year in the next 2 years as more debt rolls over at higher rates, and that is around a third of all tax revenue for the US. The USA is actually insolvent. It's genuinely insolvent, and it needs to pivot on its rates sooner rather than later. This is not me predicting or calling a pivot. This is simply me pointing at the numbers and saying the USA is bankrupt. I put out this video, the USA is insolvent today. It's very simple maths. And it shows that the USA is genuinely bankrupt, is genuinely broke. And I pointed out in here that if this was a company, a private company or a household, it would absolutely never be allowed to operate under these types of financial conditions. So I'll link this video at the end of this video. I encourage you to go and watch that. It is very simple maths, and it shows without a doubt that the USA is genuinely insolvent. Moving over to some charts, okay? The dollar. Is it going to get some kind of counter trend bounce off of this blue support line? I don't know how high it goes. That's just an illustration. I would think it's got to at least chop around on this blue line before it can break down. But of course, it doesn't rule out the possibility that we could just hot knife straight through this. I would think there's got to be at least some sort of bull trap before it can reverse. The US 10-year yield, I'm looking for it to take out these lows set back here. So can it do that? Of course, if it can, risk is going to come on quite strongly. The same is true of the US 2-year yield. It's kind of refusing to take out these lows. It seems to be back testing this level right here. So it'll be interesting to see if this is going to continue to move to the downside, because again, if it is, the bond market will continue to call a Fed bluff and start to price in a pivot to a pause in rate hikes at the coming February FOMC meeting. Hopping into the Bitcoin chart, a lot of people, as I said earlier in the video, are expecting this to roll over and become a huge bull trap. For me, the final line in the sand is this purple dotted line here, which you might be thinking, what on earth is that? Well, if I click this onto the log scale, you can see here, connecting the high of here to these highs on a log scale tells us that we are sat just $1,000 to $1,500 away from breaking out of this line. Now, I'm not saying it will happen. I don't know what will happen. As I said earlier, there is a CME gap at 19K. So are we going to come down and test that before? But I think if we can break out of this purple dotted line here, then it is absolutely game on for massive, massive upside for Bitcoin over the coming days and weeks. So this is a level I'm keeping my eye on very, very closely. Our entry on Ethereum looks pretty good. Of course, natural resistance at these cluster of highs. So do I expect a bit of consolidation before we move higher? Yes. But do I expect this to resolve higher? Currently, yes, I do. XRP tapped right into our red line at 40 cents a couple of times. So still no long for me. Looking for a break above this, and then expect me to tell you I've gone long. MATIC continues to look a little bit more constructive than it has over the past weeks. So happy days there. Long and strong continue to push. And I'm still holding a Zcash position, which apparently is coming in for a back test of this breakout level again. So kind of net sideways, kind of doing a whole lot of nothing, but I do expect this to resolve to the upside, particularly if Bitcoin can get some follow through. Hopping into the precious metal markets, gold, not much I can do here. This looks a bit extended from this trend line. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see some sort of pullback into a cycle low before the final attack up to my take profit area at these highs at around 20.50. For now, all I can do is remain long and strong and continue to push. The miners, I would expect to kind of follow gold. And of course, the same is true of the junior miners. So not much I can do there either, apart from remain long and see what the market can give. Silver had a little fake out early this morning. I was watching this and I thought this looks a little bit weak. I'm still looking to go long at a break above this blue box. However, if gold perhaps is going to have a drop into a cycle low, something like this, which would be expected, and if the dollar is going to get some kind of support buying from this blue upward sloping support line here that goes all the way back here that I've shown multiple times on this channel, if this is going to happen right as gold is putting in a drop into a cycle low, I wonder if that means we could actually see a dip down here from silver and then end up going. So if that's the case, we'll just draw a trend line wherever the price forms, and then we'll look to long the breakout of that. So I'm still neutral silver. I'm still paying a lot of attention to this. I'm still trying to see what kind of entries I can get from silver. But for now, there's not really anything actionable for me personally. Is Tesla looking for a breakout? I don't know. But breakout of here, and this could well be a long from me, something that looks a bit like this. So it hasn't done anything interesting yet, but get a breakout above here, daily close, perhaps even a breakout retest resumption. And I think this could well be a long from me. So looking at this, lining this up, but not really interested at this moment in time. Marathon, long and strong continue to push. There's really nothing else to say about that. The same is true of Riot. Long and strong continue to push. FTSE 100 continues to tear into open space, continues to target 8,500-ish. If you're wondering where this target comes from, just by connecting these highs and having a look up here, you'll see that that's around 8,500. I think if we can get a touch of this purple sloping line, in fact, I'm going to color this red because this is going to be the sell line. If we can get a touch of this red line up here, that will indeed be a take profit for me on this trade. So that's what I'm looking for now. Of course, if the market tells me different, if we get a big trend line breakdown, any kind of technical damage, then I'll exit the trade early. But for now, long and strong continue to push on the UK 100. Dow Jones continues to look constructive, continues to want to be a leader, I think, in terms of the US equities. We really need to clear these highs here before I can start getting super bullish and say that this is fully confirmed. But if we can do that, then I think there's no more bearish argument left whatsoever. For now, if you're a bear, then you really want to see rejection here and a rollover to take out these lows, because if that doesn't happen, then there's no bearish narrative left whatsoever. NASDAQ still looking for a breakout retest resumption of this downward sloping red line. So will we get it or not? I don't know. Obviously, if we get a rejection here, and that will likely lead to lower numbers. And again, similarly with the Dow and all US equities and Bitcoin, if you don't get rejection here for the NASDAQ and a takeout of these lows, then there's no bearish narrative left, okay? Even if we get rejection here and we come down and kind of form equal lows and then go, there's still no bearish narrative left whatsoever, technically speaking. And lastly, the S&P 500. Is it going to break out? Is it going to break out, retest and go? In which case that has to be a long from me. If you're a bear, same story. You really want to see this roll over, and not just roll over, you want to see it take out these lows, okay? Because anything other than that, and there's no technical reason to be a bear, especially if we were to come down here, maybe form an equal low or a higher low, and then end up breaking out at this level here. I really don't see the bearish narrative at this point. Of course, I'm open to being wrong. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just simply trying to read the charts and let the charts tell me which direction the market is going to go. If you found value here today, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're not already. Let me know what you think of the new mic. Is this better? Is this worse? Does it need turning up or turning down? Let me know. In the meantime, I wish you all the best. Take care from me. Until next time. Cheers. Bye.